The very next day, I got a text message from my contractor and it simply said, "Hey man, bad news." And I thought to myself, what? What else could possibly be going wrong? What else needs to be changed? What's up guys, it's Mike here, and I'm so happy that you're back for another update of the ongoing remodel project. I wish I could say that things have been going smoothly, but if I did, then I'd be lying, because that is just simply not the case. Things have taken a turn for the worse. Much, much worse. So there's really no need for any long drawn out intros, so let's get right into the video. We had our electrician come by the property to check a few things out. I wanted him to add a couple of pot lights in the ceilings and a couple of outlets throughout the house. There just really were not that many, and I feel like it's 2025 and we just needed to have a few more outlets than what was there already. You know those old houses, they don't seem to have any sort of lighting, and I guess lamps were their only source of light. I don't know. I wanted to get some recessed pot lights throughout the house. Honestly, I was thinking this electrician job was going to be a pretty small one. I was thinking it would take about 1 to 2 days, and we had budgeted between $1,000 and $2,000. When the electrician showed up, he pretty much shut down every idea that I had right away. He said that every wire in the entire house was super old, completely outdated, and he was not interested in mixing newer style copper wires with the older style aluminum wires. So I asked him, okay, well, what does this really mean? And then he said, well, we're gonna have to rewire the entire house. The entire house? And this was a big shock for us. The quote came in at $15,000, which was a huge difference between the $2,000 that we had budgeted for the electrician. And I should probably mention that that $15,000 was not even including a new panel, which was also required at the time. However, we were able to find some positives in the situation. We were happy to see that the entire house would have all new wires, all new outlets, switches, and fixtures. And not only that, everything would be installed by a professional electrician, which gave us really good peace of mind, especially if a tenant was going to be living in this house. We had an appointment booked with the town building inspector for the framing inspection. For those who don't know, there is 5 inspections that need to happen: framing, plumbing, electrical, insulation, and then the final walkthrough before the drywall goes up. Once all that happens, the drywall can go up. Mud, tape, paint, floorboards, trim, bingo, bango, the project is done. Probably 70% of the project, the house looks like this, where you're really not too sure what kind of progress is even being made. But then once the ball gets rolling, the last 30% really starts coming together and it looks really good. I am very excited for that last 30%. So that framing inspection, it happened and it went horribly. Probably the worst case scenario happened. And if you saw my last video, then you saw the modifications that we were making to the frame of the house. It's not too surprising that there was some issues here and there. We weren't necessarily expecting a fail, but we did receive one. But what I didn't realize is how badly it failed, or more specifically, on what area it failed. What I didn't realize is that he could fail the framing inspection from a section of the house that we didn't touch. This portion of the house had been framed 50 or 80 years ago, but it was still considered a fail. So what am I talking about worst case scenario? Well, let me pull it up on my phone. This is word for word in the inspection. There's a bunch of measurements and numbers on the top bit, but at the bottom here, it says, tear off rear roof and replace. Deflection is too great in current roof to maintain or repair. So I asked my contractor, is he asking us to take off the entire roof on the whole back section of the house? And of course he said yes, that is exactly what he's asking for. And when I say he's asking for me to take off the entire roof and have it all replaced, I'm not just talking about the metal roof part, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about the roof rafters, the plywood, the metal, everything. This also meant having to remove all those ceiling joists that I had just installed in that kitchen area to really vault the ceiling out and add all that additional space. I was so happy with the area, and now all of it has to get torn down. This was awful news. Not only was this going to cost a lot of money, this was going to delay things by weeks, if not more. I honestly didn't know that the framing inspector could come to my property and ask for such a big change, especially to a portion of the house that had been standing and functioning just fine for the last 80 years. I didn't realize he could fail a portion of the house that wasn't even proposed work from the permits that he accepted earlier. I honestly thought the existing structure was somehow grandfathered in and was basically untouchable. Unless it was collapsing, there's pretty much nothing he could do. So maybe I'm just naive, but let me know in the comments below if this has ever happened to you, or if you could share any sort of information on the subject. We gave the go-ahead for the contractor to rip the entire roof off on the back section of the house. He was so incredible to deal with throughout this entire process. Now, of course, he didn't mind doing all this additional work, as he was going to be getting quite a bit more money than the original quote had stated. But you do have to understand that this messes up all of his schedule for the next month as well. I was not the only job he had on the go. Honestly, he was super reassuring, which is a really good thing considering I had this much money tied up in the project. I have to have faith in him and his contracting company to get the job done. And another very important thing to understand in all this is that yes, the house was purchased in August, but at this point in time, it is now winter and it is very, very cold outside. So this roof was gonna have to get swapped out in the coldest dead of winter. The contractor and I both agreed that now was the perfect time to be knocking down that super weird, awkward addition at the back of the house that was doing nothing for anybody. The roof that needed to be replaced was the same roof that was covering that weird addition, so it all just kind of made sense that we're gonna demo that now and haul it away to the dump. A couple of days later, the roof was off, the extension was off, and all the materials were all hauled away. Things were starting to clean up. After all these steps backwards, maybe it was time to start taking a few steps forwards. But I wish I could say that was true, but that just didn't happen either. The very next day, I got a text message from my contractor and it simply said, "Hey man, bad news." And I thought to myself, what? What else could possibly be going wrong? What else needs to be changed? And then he sent me a photo of the back wall in the bathroom, which was the only area in the house that I had not stripped down to the studs to reveal what was behind. This section of the house, it was on an exterior wall and, well, it was completely rotten. Do you remember earlier in this update series when I talked about that tub surround looking like it was leaking? Well, yeah, I guess it was leaking. It was more than leaking. It had probably been leaking every shower for the last 10 years. But all of this, it shouldn't have come to such a big surprise, as the other wall that the tub surround was already on, that wall was known to be super rotten and had already been replaced. But in this particular case, this was an exterior wall, which meant, yep, the entire back wall needed to come down. Again, I cannot believe how much more money we've been sinking into this project that was unaccounted for at the beginning of the whole thing. And now with this new surprise, of course, that means we're gonna be spending so much more money than originally anticipated, and I don't know when this black hole of a money pit will end. So now the roof has been removed, the entire back extension has been removed, and the entire back wall has been removed. And you know, I was expecting to feel upset or sad or frustrated, but truthfully, I didn't feel that way at all. It seems like at this point, I was just so numb to all the disappointment, the setbacks, and all the money being spent. And I have to admit that I'm really proud with how positive I have kept things moving forward with this project. The contractor was able to get the wall, the roof, and all of the other minor framing repairs completed within just a couple of weeks' time. And so here we are just a couple of days after the inspector had came through for the second time. He was very happy to see all the work that was completed, and he ultimately gave us a pass. I couldn't be any more happy to receive the green light, but I did quickly remember that this is just the first of 5 inspections that need to happen. The setbacks that we have experienced have far exceeded anything that I could have possibly imagined to ever even be a setback. But our spirits are still so high and we have a ton of drive left to complete this project. And with that being said, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I personally cannot wait to see how much more progress is going to be made. And yes, I will document it, and yes, I will be sharing it with all of you. Catch you on the next video. Much love and peace. Haven't seen anything since yesterday. Oh, buddy. We got a wall. We got a wall. Check this out. Check this out. We got a wall. Maybe even a roof. I don't think so.